Okay, that way. So, welcome to this. We're going to be stepping through how growth is like an adventure and why we should travel together on this thing. So first, let's talk about the quick agenda that we're going to walk through here. And this is high level. We're going to talk about past expeditions. I'm going to talk a little bit about the stories that I've gained. Some of them, most of them really good. And some of the challenges that we faced. We'll talk about a little bit of the history or how we got to this methodology. We'll talk about how we can prepare, what you can do right now, and then lastly, why we should go together. So that's what we're going to do for right now. Let's talk a little bit about the past expeditions. So past expeditions are an excuse to talk about success stories, but also some challenges. And the first of all, I'll use myself as a case study. So the seed for this idea of growth as a journey started for me actually back in the early 90s when I was actually guiding, actually mid 80s when I started guiding outdoor programs and working at camps and doing backpacks and all that. But the actual seed for this approach started in about 2001 when I realized I had started not just guiding, but also planning the trips and the adventures. And I would ask questions, and I came up with these guiding questions. What we typically ask people before we take them out are a series of questions that get clear about their expectations, their goals. And then when I started coaching and consulting, I found I was using many of the same questions. So I would do that on myself. And I formally, the seed started in 2001, but in 2011, I started to integrate it into the way that I plan, formally integrated into the way I planned my own growth. And I started using it in my coaching practice. And one of the guys that I worked with back when I was coaching inside a large training organization was a young guy who came in as a supervisor. We worked together for about 5 years, and it was a coaching relationship, but we were making his development plans, which were required by his organization. And he went from a supervisor to a manager. He added coaching and master coaching to his competency set. And ultimately, right after we left, he was a vice president in a large insurance organization. And so a lot of that goes into the seeds of what we were doing and then how we formalized it into a development process. Another person I worked with, she was in the corporate world, didn't like it at all. She was taking too much out of her. She actually wanted to exit the corporate world, doing less of her corporate training programs and do more things that were creative and art-based. So we worked together on a plan that helped her decrease the number. She was an independent consultant, decrease the number of corporate programs she did and find ways for her to do different sorts of artistic programs, from woodworking to designing stuff. And she also just started doing this. We helped her create that gig work so that she could lessen the amount of her corporate programs. And the last couple of years, I've worked with 3 different people on developing their virtual presence, from developing, taking what they were doing before the pandemic and creating a plan so that they could do the same thing during the pandemic and then integrate it into after. I helped one person take her content that was an in-person program and turn it into something that could provide continuing education credits for HR people. And then another person, actually, she was a consultant that was hired to help develop virtual programs for a nonprofit. And I worked with her to develop her intervention. And all this using this plan, this approach. So that's where kind of some of the success stories come from. And so I've seen it myself. The difficult part is when people ask for the success stories, I can't show them exactly what it was because this has been an iterative process. Every time I use it or we use this with a group, we fix it, we tweak it, we find out where it's weak. So as a methodology or an approach, it continues to evolve as we apply it, we learn, and it grows too. So any questions you have about the this approach here. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here. And I'm going to send this as a interactive PDF to you. So all you're going to have to do is, if you double click on most of these pictures, if you double click, it'll take you to a resource. So this is an article I wrote about how I got to these guiding questions things. So know that when you get this, you'll have not only this recording, but you also have the resources.
Wow.
So the path to guiding questions, how do we get here? So I started leading outdoor programs in 1986, and I started planning outdoor programs like in the leadership role in 1991. When I started planning them, and even when I was a guide, I would start off talking with the clients or talking with the students or participants, and with a series of questions to align expectations to make sure I can deliver the right thing. I'd ask questions like, these were the first guiding questions that I used for development as well. Where do you want to end up? What resources do we have to start with? Where is your starting point? What terrain will we need to cross to get from where we're starting to where we want to end up? And using that, what path should we take? Well, when I started coaching and consulting in 1994, I found I was using similar questions. So I've been using a version of this process since 2001 for myself and for my clients. That's when I started doing consulting was my only business, and I found myself using these questions a lot. So I formalized in 2011 is really when I integrated into my coaching and would still do my development planning with these in the back of my mind. But in 2016, I went down to a beach that's near us, and I wrote out in my journal these guiding questions. And I said, I'm gonna create my development plan based on how I answer these questions. So it was for the year 2016. So it was December 2015 when I first kind of wrote out this process. Well, and I use that for myself and for individuals here and there in my coaching, that written out process. And then in 2019, I actually formalized it into the Growth as a Journey workshop. It was a personal workshop that I led a couple of times in 2019, probably about 30 or 40 total participants. And then we know what happened in 2020. And in 2020, we were all just figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
But that's when I did develop an e-learning course, and first a virtual workshop, and then two different e-learning courses that I started to offer this past year. And also 2021 is the first time we put together a Growth as a Journey cohort. So, okay, we've got another person joining us here. We'll wait for Joe Ellen to get in here. And are you with us, Joe Ellen? Can you hear us okay? Okay. I see Susan's with us, and she's in a loud location, so I can appreciate that. Joe Ellen, I hope that you're able to hear us and ask questions. And hey, welcome.
There we are.
Yeah, right now we are, I'm talking about how this methodology, this idea of growth as a journey and as an expedition came about. And it came about with my past as a guide and somebody who organized outdoor adventure type stuff. I found the same questions I was asking clients there were the same questions I was starting to ask my coaching clients and my consulting clients. And again, it really became formalized. It's been changing every year, but first workshop, live workshop 2019, did a couple of them, learned a ton, integrated that into, in the past 2 years, doing virtual workshops and putting together some asynchronous learning courses. So this last year was the first time I did like a growth expedition group, a cohort, and there's about 6 or 7 of us that met for like between last week of December, first week of January, we met like 2 or 3 times and helped each other make our plans. And then we met at several times, like once a month or so, moving into the first 6 months of the year. And it was this, we found the ability to get support, encouragement, and feedback, but also accountability. We were able to hold each other accountable. So that gets us to the day. And what you're seeing up on screen is it's a big mural. It's an app that I use a lot now instead of PowerPoint. And you're going to get a PDF of this. You'll have a link to the recording that we're doing, but also most of these pictures, if you click on them, it opens up a resource. So here's an article I wrote on this whole thing. So if you want to get more detail, you can do that. So let's talk a little bit about how we can prepare. And instead of me talking, because I tend to get long-winded and stuff, I'll show you a video, and this is like an overview video of the course we put together. So let's do this. Again, you'll be able to download this.
Welcome to an overview of a simple course on personal development.
You guys seeing this okay?
In this course, we'll explore the 4 essential elements that lead to any positive change or personal growth. We think of personal development as a journey. As with any journey, much of the work is done before you take your first step. We start with thorough preparation and pre-work. Deciding where you want to go is the first step. When you take the time to define a specific destination for your journey, you paint a target on which you can focus all your energy, effort, and attention. Once you know where you're going, you'll want to understand where you're starting from. By assessing your current state, you'll create a positive tension that will pull you towards your destination. If you have a specific and important destination defined, and you have a clear understanding of your starting point, you'll better be able to analyze the terrain between where you're starting from and where you want to end up. Once you've completed your preparation and pre-work, it's time to start planning your path. Look for the best path between your starting point and your destination. Be sure to account for the terrain that you face along the way. What challenges might you face, and what support might you find? Once you define your path, you'll want to identify and acquire resources that you'll need along the way. You'll also want to decide how you're going to track your progress so that you can learn from your mistakes and successes and adjust your path. Now it's time to move your plan into your calendar by creating deadlines and transforming to-dos into events. The last part of pathfinding is communicating your plan so that you can create accountability and support. All the preparation and planning mean nothing if you never take your first step. Once you start executing your plan, it's a good idea to pause briefly to make sure you're on the right path and that you have all the right resources. Know that on your journey, there will be stumbles, falls, and even failure. These are opportunities to learn and adjust your plan. Be sure to pay attention to waypoints and milestones. Work your plan. Step off the trail to gain perspective. Reflect, assess, and make changes as needed. Know that there's times that you'll get distracted and find yourself off your intended path onto a rabbit trail. While most of the time, these detours aren't helpful. Every once in a while, you might find yourself on a better path towards your destination. While you're on your journey, pay attention to your energy level. Get your rest. Don't sacrifice long-term progress for short-term miles. Your journey isn't complete when you reach your destination. There's a few things you can do to get full value for your growth and development. Be sure you create some space for celebration and also allow yourself to recover before you start to analyze and review your journey. Once you've had a chance to reflect on your adventure, take the time to document your learning and your takeaways. Don't forget to go back to those who have supported and encouraged you along the way to communicate the lessons that you've learned on your journey. By ending well, you'll be able to apply all the growth you've achieved and lessons you've learned to your next personal development journey.
So that I find using video like that is better than if I try to explain it to you, because it'd be 10 times longer if I did. Does that make sense? Was that, that's the big picture of it. Now, if you are interested, I created a course that is an overview on personal development. I just mean individual development. So it could be professional or your home life, whatever it is. And it could be a full-on plan, or it could be just one thing, like Jay talked about, wanting to start a blog. You can use the same process for one thing or your whole life. If you wanted to, if this is interesting you to learn more about this process, you can take a deeper dive. Video you just saw is the overview video for this course. Again, you'll be able to click on this link and it'll take you to more information and registration there. So let's get to, so what can you do? That's kind of the overall process. But right now, going into, I use this time of year to work on the following year's development plan. But the first thing that I do isn't like to make the plan, since I have a existing plan. So this is last year's plan. The first thing that I do is that last step, journey's end, because I'm completing this year's journey. And so I have a whole ritual that I do over the last week of December and the first week of January, which I want to invite you guys on. If you later on, I'll talk about why we should go together. But so what I do is I take the plans that I have written out, and I have a way of scoring. So this is my 2021 scorecard. So you can see I've got all these checks, and you see that first thing I gave myself a D+. That was challenging. But I find if I make my planning, like I create these waypoints and these projects, and if I can make them measurable, more important than hitting the target is knowing how I missed. So in making this plan, one of the benefits of this approach to development planning is that you can turn it into a scorecard. And that's a big piece of that journey's end. After you celebrate, after you rest, you want to reflect and take a look at all the stuff that you worked on and use it to help you know what your next step is going to be. So what can you do right now? Like I said, I'm going to start the journey by reviewing this last year. That's going to happen between Christmas and New Year's, and start to do the prep and pre-work. And then usually it takes me into the first week or two of January to actually get down to the plan, the pathfinding piece. And then I launch into the journey, which is the rest of the year. The course is deceptive because the course spends most of your time in the prep, pre-work, and planning, but it's the journey that takes all the time. So, and that's why we kind of need to go together. Now, what I'm, here, when you get this download, or when you get the PDF I'm going to send you, you get a free copy of the Simple Book on Personal Development. And this is an interactive PDF. And this is really good practice, but bad business, because you get all the information from the courses if you walk through this. The courses help give you a deeper understanding, and also if you want a structured path. So this document, I could actually type right into it. Let's see here. I think I need to download it first. So once it's downloaded, you open it up, and so now I can go in, and these are all fillable. So I can actually put my plans right in there. If it's like, I don't quite get this whole destination thing, well, you click on the picture and it takes you a level deeper. So here's, all right, so prep and pre-work, inventory, where do I want to end up? And all of these have additional, you click one more layer and it takes you to some actual exercises that you can do.
Wow.
So the whole idea behind this was I learned that executives say they love to read, but they only want to read what they want to read. So it's a simple book because it just gives you the essentials of what you need. But if you want to go deeper, you can choose your own adventure and go deeper in those things. So that's what I'm encouraging. That's what this whole kind of expedition briefing is about, is understand before we go on the expedition of living out 2023, it's a good idea to do the prep and pre-work first examine this past year, what worked and what didn't. If you don't have a plan to go by, pull out a journal, pull out your calendar, and just ask yourself, did I end up where I thought I was going to end up in 2022? And my guess is it's going to be a complex answer, because there's some things that you did, other places that you didn't, and other places that you're surprised you arrived at, and it's a good thing. So do that first, because that's going to lead into your prep and pre-work for 2023. And again, I've got a course. If you want to do this like on your own, but you want to have some guidance, there's the Growth is a Journey planning for 2023. And this is, again, it's a self-paced, self-guided course that'll take you through and help you actually write out the plans. You'll see the similar videos because it's the same plan, but it's a different sequence. It starts with Journey's End, and then encourage you over a series of it's designed to be done in about 10 days. And you'll walk away with a plan that you can live, and then come back to it when it's time for Journey's End again. So, questions about so far up to this point? Is it making sense, or am I just blowing smoke about this adventure? Are you tracking with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I like how it goes deeper and deeper on that.
Yeah. I have another simple book. It's a process that I'm using for other topics. I have another simple book on what's called practical creativity. And there's the habits of practical people and creative people. And if we want to land the plane on anything, we need both of those things. So it's a simple book that still you click through and do that stuff. So let's talk about kind of the last section that I wanted to get to is, why should we go together? And let's see, I don't even remember what I put in here. Oh, this is a paper I wrote on teamwork is co-laboring. The importance of it's working hard together. And it was written in a concept of corporate teams, but I think it lends itself to also talking about why a cohort, why an expedition, why we go farther together. And I remember first going back into teamwork or working together, the whole idea of teams comes out of agriculture, and a team of horses being able to pull more and do more work than an individual horse doing alone. And it's more than some of the parts. Now, and the concept of coach is actually a thing that carried stuff. And so there's some links together. But the idea is that old African proverb, we will go farther together. Now, typical expeditions, people are all going to the same place. A growth expedition is not about going to the same place. It's knowing that there's fellow adventurers out there going to amazing places that they get to define. This whole process is about helping you define success for you on whatever it looks like, and then you creating a plan that's going to get you closer to success. Because if I create, as a coach, I can't create a plan for you. If I do, you'll blame me for why it sucks. My whole goal when I'm guiding or being a thought partner with people is to help them get clear on what success is for them, find that, help them understand what they currently have that's going to get them there. And if we uncover competencies or skills or things that they need, then we can go find and acquire those things. But together, it's hard to do that when you're doing it on your own. There's blind spots, which we talk about blind spots a lot. Those are the places that you have deficits that you can't see or can't do anything about. And if you have people around you to help you look, and you can only see in one direction. If you got people looking in your blind spots and giving you that feedback in encouraging and supportive ways, it's going to help you get further. The other great thing about going together isn't about blind spot, it's about hidden strengths. Helping people outside of you point and say, you know what? You're really good at this, Johan, whatever it is. You could use that to get there, and using current competencies and skills to get you to brand new places. Mm-hmm. Together, we can do that. And I like this picture of people helping each other up and out and over the gap. And even though we're traveling to different places, we can act like this expedition group to get there. And again, this is the one, this is the really simple one. It's the 2023 growth expedition cohort. And that's a more formalized thing that where like you guys can work with me as I develop my plan and you develop your plan. Now, as you use any format you want in the cohort, just come ready to help each other out. Now, if we're all working on similar ways, similar strategies, if we're using the growth as a journey approach, then we can really kind of sync up our approach and get us all to the different places. So again, with a cohort, I don't care if you're bringing in Covey stuff or you're bringing whatever resources you bring to the table, man, let's get together and work together. And these are all like modestly priced courses and things. Like I'm not, okay, quick soapbox here. Most e-learning courses out there are resources. That means that they're not really courses. They're not learning environments. They're resources to pull off the shelf when you need them. My goal in all my courses is to create a learning environment where you actually walk away changed, whether it's a e-learning course, self-paced, or it's the cohort, whatever. So that's one of these you're going to realize that my e-learning courses, they're interactive. They encourage you to play with the material, to write out your thoughts and to respond to other people's thoughts. So it's a little bit different. I realize that most of the people that I'm working with, not all of them, but a lot of the people I'm working with come out of education or come out of the service industry, things like that. So I'm also not pricing it at corporate learning stuff. So ultimately, at the end of this, I want to take you to, this is one of my favorite ways to kind of start wrapping up a learning experience. I want you to take a minute and tell you what, I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share access to the mural. Oh wait, let me get to the right link. And what's gonna happen in just a minute, I'm gonna put this into the chat. And what you can do is click on that link, and it's gonna ask you to sign in as some sort of fancy animal or something. And you can put your name or you can just be that animal. There's a couple of us. But what I'd like you to do, I'll see if you guys, let's see. I want to escape here. All right, so I see you guys are here. And what's funny about this is that people fight over what are the best. We have 2 visiting koalas today. I haven't seen that in a long time. But all you're gonna have to do in just a moment, not yet, I'm going to get us all in the same place. Now, if you double click on the screen with your mouse, you'll see a Post-it note come up there. What I want you to do is in that Post-it note, I want you to write down one thing that has become clear to you through the last 45 minutes. It's going through all these different things. Double click on the site. Can you double click? There it is. Anywhere on that site, and I'll stop sharing so that it's not as confusing. Well, and if you double click anywhere on that, Jay's taken the yellow Post-it note.
Okay. Oh, is that my, okay, it's showing, that's mine.
Yeah. So, and what you can do is just write one thing that became clear. And if there's more things, put a new Post-it note up there. And we'll just take a couple of minutes and I'll walk you through. But as I walk you through, just keep on putting up ideas of what became clear. So we talked about kind of some success stories of people who've used this process in order to get closer to their definitions of success and live better lives. Talked about how we got here, which is the story behind growth as a journey and how I came to view personal and professional development as an expedition that we can take together. Then we talked about the overall kind of like, what is this process? And that's the video I showed you with the 4 areas where prep and pre-work, the actual pathfinding, and then the journey, and then the journey's end. And and then last we talked about what we can start doing here and now, which is in this season, take some time to evaluate this last year. Use that as the prep and pre-work to figure out what path you're going to take in 2023. And then let's work towards that. Ultimately, we expedition together. And the power of working as a team that's on an expedition, even though we're going different destinations, we can help each other out through support, encouragement, feedback, and holding each other accountable to what we say. So, yeah. Is that what is a growth expedition? Is you learned what it is? I'm hoping that's not still a question. Jay, you're muted. So. All right. Now I've got one last question for you. That is this. I'm going to bring you over with me. And the question I have comes from a George Eliot quote. Ideas are poor ghosts until they become incarnate in a person or in a soul. Then they reach out and touch the world and shake it like with a passion. So the idea is this is all good stuff. And I want to know, so what are you going to do in the next week to apply one of these ideas, one of these concepts? And just take, what one thing can you do? What do you want to do? And this is a notion in learning, it's makes it more sticky. When you think it, that's one level of commitment, not very deep. When you speak it, that's another level. When you write it, that's even deeper. And when you share it, then it becomes a really sticky concept. So I want to encourage you to think deeply about what is one thing you could do in the next week to apply any of the insights that you picked up over the past 50 minutes.
I know for me, this is Joellen, what you were showing, like the outline, and then I could go dig a little deeper to figure out what it is I want to create with my work.
Yeah.
I'm in Southwest Florida where we had the hurricane directly hit. So my work outside at a ropes course, which I just do contract work with them, has been completely depleted. And so I'm trying to figure out the next steps. So this has really given me some insight to push forward and recreate my future.
Cool. Wonderful. I'm going to take us to another spot, a couple of opportunities here. So we are going to this idea of, if you want some personalized, I no longer call it coaching because you never know what you're going to, this is kind of advising, it's guidance, and it's thought partnering. And what you can do when you get this download, you can click on this. In fact, you could click it on it even as we're speaking. And it takes you to my calendar. If you want to grab a spot to do when I'm doing this, framing is free. If you just want to talk about what are the issues and how do we change it to a success statement? And that's really the first step in any kind of guidance or thought partnership. So that's an opportunity for you guys. The other one is I put together now I'm feeling like but wait, there's more. I created a special offer for all of the resources. So if you click here, you'll get a $270 value for, I think it's $89. Let me check. Oh, it won't take me there. But
yeah, I think it was 89.
Yeah, $89.
Yeah.
And that gets you all three. It gets you the overview course, it gets you the planning course, and it gets you into the cohort. So if that's something that interests you, I'm not looking to get 50 people in there. I'm looking to get 5 or 6 who are serious about growing. that we can walk through. And basically what I'll do is I'll set up some times for us in last week of December, first couple of weeks of January, where we can sit down and help each other grow through it. So, and that's where I'm at. If you've got it, we'll take some time. What I'll do is I'll stop the recording and I'll take questions, comments, and concerns from you guys for as long as you can hang out.
Mhm.
So here we go.